it involves Christopher Nolan is a good year. As you guys know, I'll be talking a lot about Chris. But, you know, I thought there were some good movies and some good foreign movies as well. But yeah, I think it was a good year, not a great year. But yeah, you know. Dal?
Yeah, great points, Nez. Any year with Chris Nolan is a great year. I might say that this year could go down as the Renaissance, because here we're coming from COVID, you know, where movies were, you know, hit and miss. So we had a couple of good ones, you know, but this is like the real resurgence, I find, of like, okay, like, you know, all of the budget cuts and everything, and, you know, the wasted money is over with. Now we're into making movies again. We're back in business. The wheels are starting to turn in full force, you know, and having Christopher Nolan come out with a movie after Tenet, which he released during COVID, is like just an absolute, like, lay his dong on the table. I'm back, you know, like I never left. And so, yeah, I would call it the Renaissance.
Matt?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I agree with Dallas, actually. It was like the first normal year for cinema, I guess. And I've seen 53 2023 movies, and I thought it was a great year. And there's a lot of them that you're going to mention tonight, guys, that I missed. I did not venture out to the theater as much as I would have wanted to. But from what I've seen, it was a really solid year. Don't have a lot of low ratings. So, yeah, no, it was... My only regret is not going to the theater as much, and it'll probably be evident when you guys mention a movie and I haven't seen it, but yeah, solid year. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I would also echo what you were saying, Dallas. I think it was a good year for movies, honestly. It's the year that I've seen the most movies that have dropped in a year ever. I think I've watched 32 movies this year that dropped in 2023, so most ever for me. And I enjoyed the majority of the ones I saw. I saw some bad ones, but that's not... like just synonymous with just this year. Like there's bad movies that drop every year. Like we just came off The Beekeeper a couple of weeks ago. So like there's bad movies every year, right? And I think I'm also glad you mentioned Tenet, because I know we're gonna be pumping Christopher Nolan's tires here, but the guy does have a few misses here and there. I'll just say that. Hope that's not too rough to say to open up this pod there, Nez, but they're not all hits in my books anyways. But yeah, no, I think it was a great year.
Sorry to cut in. Did you see what his what Christopher Nolan's personal trainer or his Peloton trainer said of the Tenet?
I did see that. Hilarious video, kind of rough, and I'd say kind of embarrassing for that Peloton trainer where she was just bashing Tenet. But Christopher Nolan seemed to have a pretty good sense of humor about it there, so love to see that. Yeah, no, it was a hilarious video. But no, good year. And was tough to make the list for me, honestly. There's a bunch that could have made them more bottom five. Like top five was pretty solidified for me. From as soon as I saw them, I'm like, all right, these movies are making the list for sure. Then I was more like rounding out the bottom five. So yeah, I think we're good to get into it there. Can start off, go Nez, Dallas, like kind of same order we just went. Nez, Dallas, Matt, me, and then we'll go snake. So me, Matt, Dallas, Nez, and just go about it that way. And I'll be posting everyone's picks as we go along on YouTube, so be sure to be watching on that. Like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. So, preamble out of the way, I think we can start off. Nez, what was your number 10 movie of 2023?
So, my number 10 movie, and I think it was a good movie, came out earlier this year. And as you guys know, I posted sort of my top 8 on Instagram. It wasn't a top 10, but my 10th movie is going to be Air with Ben Affleck. I thought, you know, as a 10th movie, bottom of my list, I still think it was fantastic. I think it was like sort of classic Ben Affleck where, you know, we sort of see the real life aspects of things, and it's an interesting story, and it's not, you know, because of how early it came out, I don't think it was sort of an Oscar bait from Ben Affleck. I thought there was some aspects of it missing, but I thought it was, you know, like I said, classic Ben Affleck. It's really good. You go out of there, you really enjoyed it, and that is my number 10. I thought it was an interesting aspect. You learn a lot of things about sort of Nike and how they went about with Michael Jordan. So that is my number 10.
That's a very solid pick, Nez. I like that. It was. I highly rated that movie this year. Super entertaining, not bored for a second. I thought it was crisp, and yeah, good pick.
Yeah, same here. I liked Air a lot, honestly. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. I'm a big fan of both of them. Ben Affleck, I feel like gets way too much hate in general. I always enjoy him in most roles that he portrays characters in, and no, fun time. I love learning about like backstories on historical figures, and like Michael Jordan and the Air Jordan shoe is a really cool story that I didn't know that much about, even though I watched The Last Dance, and kind of gave me a different perspective on how that whole process came about. So no, really enjoyed the movie. Definitely recommend.
Yeah, great number 10. I'm kind of regretting not including it in my top 10 now. Totally slipped under my radar. But fun fact about Air, Michael Jordan, I wrote this in my review on Letterboxd. Michael Jordan had one request for the film, that Viola Davis be cast as his mom in the film. Fantastic. I mean, doesn't get any better than Viola Davis. I'm telling you,
she was great.
I'm obsessed with her. She's incredible. So yeah, she crushed it as always.
Yeah, great pick. Dallas, what was your number 10?
Yeah, my number 10 is gonna be Saltburn. You know, it was a good movie. I really thought it was intriguing. I was definitely wrapped into it for every second. It never lost me. The reason it's 10 is because, you know, and I wrote this in my review as well, it's you know, par for the course for talented Mr. Ripley, you know, a sociopath that can just integrate himself into situations and, you know, kind of take on these masks and manipulate the people around him. And, you know, when you're playing a genre or when you're, you know, playing second fiddle to a movie like The Talented Mr. Ripley, you know, people are going to size you up next to it. And The Talented Mr. Ripley is unbeatable. So, you know, that's why it's so low. But yeah, I haven't really been introduced to Jacob Elordi too much. You know, people go crazy over this guy. I've only seen him in Euphoria, and I've only seen a few episodes of Euphoria. So this was a fantastic introduction to Jacob Elordi for me. And yeah, it was a really good movie. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, no, great movie. I watched it just to get in on the conversation. Everyone was talking about it online, right? It was like oh my God, I can't believe they did that in this movie. Like you hear about like the shock value things, and I'm like, all right, what's going on in here? Like I'd kind of heard about some things, like I knew there was something with the bath and then the grave.
Oh, it was twisted.
So
it was twisted.
Graveyard.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the bath scene is the scene that everybody was going crazy about. What about the you know,
period blood.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure we all know
the blood
scene
moon,
I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Like, what the hell is going on there? I couldn't believe my eyes. It's definitely shock value. That was a huge portion of the movie is shock value. And fuck, you know what? I guess I'm a sucker for shock value. You know, maybe Jackass is going to be my next top 10 next year if they come out with a movie. But you know, that's what it was. It was shocking.
Yeah. Couple
what
things
do you think,
just
Nez?
quickly. Yeah, go ahead, Nez.
I'm going to talk about Saltburn when I rate it. I think that because I think I liked it a lot more than Dallas did.
Oh, I liked it. It's in my top 10. There were tons of great movies. Yeah. Eric saw 33 movies this year. Like 33. What the hell? So, you know, like it made it in my top 10. It was a great movie. I really liked it. Like I was really wrapped into the story the whole time. And honestly, it was a great plot twist as well. No spoilers, but I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I'm excited to hear what Nez has to say.
And I'm excited too, and I think we'll talk about the movie. We'll talk about the movie more because I really liked it too. My number 10. My number 10 was the funnest movie of the year for me at the theater, and it's Guardians of the Galaxy 3. James Gunn did it again. James Gunn did it again. This movie fired on all cylinders for me in terms of entertainment. Seeing my beloved characters go through that story was great. Good soundtrack as usual, good visuals. The reason it's number 10 is that it's still a superhero movie at the end of the day, and my least favorite of the genres on my list, but super solid action movie. It's Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
I can't believe it that, they're 3 for 3.
Yeah.
The writing is hilarious. It's so good. It's so engaging. It's definitely probably it's a great standalone from all of the other Marvel cinematic pieces. It's in its league of its own. It's been fantastic. I think they need to stop it here though. It's leave on a high note, like George Costanza. Just exit on a high note. You're good. Okay, see you later.
Look,
Nezz is a superhero. Nezz is a hater.
We talked about this last time I was on the podcast, and
that's right.
It's gonna take a lot for me to put a Marvel movie in my top 10 any year. So I understand Guardians of the Galaxy. I think apart from any other Marvel movie, they do it right. But for me, I can't put a Marvel movie in my top 10 because I'm just I'm an old man. I'm an old man, and I have old man takes, and that's just where I stand, unfortunately.
Fair.
That is fair. I love Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as well, Matt. It was my favorite Marvel movie of the year for sure. Very close to making my list, but edged out by a few others last-minute switch-ups. But no, I loved it. I think we talked about in our Marvel episode, Guardians of the Galaxy might be one of the best trilogies that the MCU's given us. Also agree with you, Dallas. I wouldn't really want them to keep it going because now wouldn't be the same characters. Not as interesting in my book. So perfect closure for these characters. Absolutely loved it. Great movie. So I'll kick us off. My number 10, close out the number 10s. This is the latest movie I saw actually of 2023. Actually, yeah, latest movie of 2023. So it's actually a wrestling movie, The Iron Claw. Come on. So just gonna throw that up here.
Yeah, The Iron Claw. Sad.
That's
if
the
there's
thing.
any way to describe that movie, it's sad.
Exactly. And going into it, I didn't really know much about these guys, like the Von Erich family, the brothers. I kind of expected there'd be a bit of a tragic angle in this movie, but not nearly as close as what we saw in this movie. And I don't really want to give too much away there, but there's some madness that happens in this movie. Kind of like Saltburn, but not in the same way at all, honestly. Just like some craziness that happens in this movie. But fantastic. I was really into the story the whole time. Great acting. Like Zac Efron, very different role for him. And fantastic stuff from him and Jeremy Allen White, the two leads. Lily James, great as per usual. Really good movie, honestly. Like I feel like wrestling movies in general tend to be pretty sad, but I'd say this is the saddest one I've seen. And I feel like the brother angle really got to me. So, yeah, strong recommend to see in theaters if you have the chance. So, yeah, The Iron Claw would be my number 10.
So, for me, Iron Claw, Dallas and I saw it together. And, look, I knew on the surface the Von Erich story. Here's the thing, what I thought about the movie, and it's not in my top 10, but for me, I thought the story was sad, obviously, knowing about it. I didn't think the movie was sad. I thought that there were some directorial sort of decisions that were made that weren't great. I thought the script was spotty. So I thought that a lot of the characters, Jeremy Allen White is fantastic. If you've seen The Bear, he's great in it. I thought that Zac Efron did well. I thought he was the best one, the best sort of actor in that movie. I thought the script was iffy. I thought the movie wasn't as sad as it should have been, because I thought it was, and look, this is a real life story, but I thought it was too sort of bang bang bang, in the sense that you saw what happened, and you're sort of like, okay, you didn't sort of get over the sort of what happened before the next thing happened. I thought I thought it was a good movie. I enjoyed it for the most part, but I thought the script there was some things that could have been better. But for me, I thought there was some decisions that were made that weren't great. I thought that the moments that were meant to be sad didn't last as long as they should have. I thought that it was like, here's a sad part of the story. Okay, let's move on. And I thought that was really what plagued that movie.
Jeez,
I haven't seen it, so I can't say anything.
Tore the head off Iron Claw. 10-minute monologue on.
All great points, honestly. And Dallas, I think you're kind of in line with Nez's thoughts. I read your review of Iron Claw, and I agree, honestly, with like
pacing's off. The pacing's off. They never let you sit in it.
Yeah, stuff was happening really quickly, and like it's just one thing to the next. It was moving a little too quick. Not really. Like when these kind of things happen, you think they could have a massive toll on characters and stuff, and or people, and you're not really seeing it fleshed out as well as it could have been. I hear you for sure.
And I like I said, Dallas and I saw this together, and I don't want to spend a lot more time on this, but when we were driving back home, I told Dallas, like, look, this movie's an hour and 50 minutes. This movie could have been 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I think that would have really done some good to the story if they had they spent more time on the characters, had they spent more time on their wrestling careers, because at the end they sort of give like before the credits they sort of put text on the screen telling you what's going on, and they were in the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm a WWE guy, so I knew that. However, in the story they don't really show how important they were to the wrestling. They do, but they don't do a good job of it, in my opinion. So I think that focusing on the wrestling career would have done more good. Like one of the brothers, I forget the name, but he goes over to Japan. They mentioned that he's going to Japan, and then he goes to Japan, and then he dies of like liver failure, and you're just like, oh, okay, like you could have spent more time sort of gauging his story into Japan, and there's that, I don't want to spoil anything, but I will. There's that scene where he's like sort of puking his guts out at the wedding, and it's sort of like, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. Don't worry about it. Okay. And then they have a whole different conversation, and you're just like, well, this looks pretty important. He's puking out blood, right? So I think you should spend more time on focusing on that. And then he dies of that sort of disease like 10 minutes later in the movie, and you're like, okay, well, I get it. We saw him puke, but like you should have spent more time on that. So that was my real sort of problem with the movie. I don't think they spent the importance of each story as much time as they should. So that's on me.
No, for sure. Great points. And I feel like we could keep going on this because I know our thoughts as well, but we'll just move it along there to another one that's kind of along the same lines. I'll kick us off, number 9. Similar vein, but very different, I would say. Movie I had a lot of fun watching in theater again. Action-packed and had a lot of emotional moments too, and it just part of a series that I love. So that'd be Creed 3. It'd be my number 9 pick for 2023. Nezz, can't wait to hear what you're gonna say about this one, boys. Just picks are getting cut up left and right out here. But I love
the hottest take.
That I was gonna say for sure might be controversial. I really enjoyed this movie. I had a great time, and at the time was a fan of the character played by now actor that is, again, like I said, controversial to talk about, but I think great performance. And those movies just fire me up. And we talked about it in the Creed episode there, so I'm not going to talk about it too much myself there, but love his journey as a character. And for Michael B. Jordan, directed the movie, you see his growth as a person and as the character that he plays. Really liked it. But Dallas, excited now to hear what you think about this movie and everyone else's thoughts on Creed 3.
Well, I'm going to try not to be too critical because, you're entitled to your opinion, and if it's in your top 10, it's in your top 10. You enjoyed the movie. The movie should have been in sign language. I mean, I felt like the whole movie, second I left, I said to my friends, like, that means, it was okay. It was mediocre. It was, 5 out of 10. It was like, there was a lot of excessive sign language. And I work with people who do ASL. I teach ASL on a weekly basis to some of my clientele. It's fine to include it in the movie, but, you're preaching to a global audience here. It's, I don't think the whole, the 30% of the movie should have been ASL. But anyway, that's just me personally. But other than that, I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of a dead genre, boxing movies, I find. And there wasn't enough here to rebirth the genre. There wasn't enough here to reinvigorate the genre. And also, I'm a Michael B. Jordan hater. Like, I'll put that out there right now. You can see my bias, judge me as I am. But Michael B. Jordan just isn't my cup of tea. Like, I haven't seen him in anything where he's impressed me or, he's a good-looking guy. He's in great shape, and that's fantastic, and you definitely want that for a boxing movie. But yeah, he's nothing special. I know that he directed it. I think he wrote it as well, right? Yeah. So, he's definitely got some great chops, but, I'd prefer him to, maybe, I don't know, divert more of his energy into one of those aspects, and then he can really be exceptional, because maybe he's like diverting too much energy into all three, and that's just making him come off as average for all three. I don't know. But yeah, for the controversial actor involved, he was fantastic. He was incredible. Yeah. He was really good. It's really unfortunate how things have transpired in his personal life. But as an actor, he's incredible, and he was fantastic in that movie. And that's what made that movie bearable for me was him. So
I'm going to spend at least maybe 10 seconds on this. I think Michael B. Jordan's a horrible actor. I've said this from the start. He's terrible. And I liked the first Creed, didn't like the second. This one was whatever. But Michael B. Jordan, terrible actor. So overrated. He's only liked because of his good looks.
Which is half of what you need right now in Hollywood, right? Is the body.
Well, yeah.
I'm not as high as you, Eric, and I'm not as low as you guys. So I thought it was an average movie. I gave it like 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. Average. Not making my list though. Okay, I'm gonna go in my number 9 now. Keep the pace going. Speaking of picks that might get shredded, number 9 is The Killer by David Fincher. I loved the clinical pace, the glacial, some might say glacial pace. I love that shit. I like the voiceover narration. And what I loved about it is it reminded me of some old 70s, 60s European movies that take their time. This movie reminded me of one of my favorite French films, Le Samouraï.
Yeah.
The look, everything about it. Anyways, Fassbender did it for me. Yeah, is it light on the story? Is it style over substance? I don't care. I love that stuff. So that's The Killer. It was on Netflix this year. It hit all the marks for me.
If I can jump in, completely agree. I have The Killer as my number 8. David Fincher, he's just fantastic. I love him. I love his style. It's fantastic. It's like sequential, the scenes. It's like, chapter by chapter. I like that. It's kind of Quentin Tarantino style as well. He likes to do, his movies kind of by chapter. Absolutely love that. And it's exactly like Le Samouraï, where it's, just this like strong silent type, stone cold killer. There's no visceral emotion. It's just monotone, like consistency. I love that as a hitman. I love that shit. I love that. That's what Leon the Professional should have been. Maybe hot take. I love Leon the Professional. It was fantastic. But watching Leon the Professional, when Leon gets killed because of his weakness towards Natalie Portman, you start to hate that side of him. You're like, fuck, I wish Leon just would have stayed being this consistently cold-blooded killer, you know, like David Fincher's The Killer. You know, so completely agree. Great take, Matt. Not shredding that at all.
I loved it. Didn't make my top 10, but I love David Fincher. You know, I out of all the movies he's made, for me, the best one is still The Social Network by far. But you know, I love Michael Fassbender. I've been saying this for years. I hope Michael Fassbender gets a new sort of agent, because he's a great actor that's in terrible movies. But yeah,
some great movies.
Well, he's in great movies, but he's in really bad ones too. So I love The Killer. I thought it was like classic David Fincher, where like the movie's very like, it's cool, but it didn't miss some substance. It was very straightforward. So it didn't make my top 10, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
So, like with my 2 picks so far, I might be on an island here in that I'm the only one who did not like this movie. Like, I don't care. Like, this movie did not do it for me. And I'm not just saying this because my 2 picks have been bashed so far. Like, it just didn't do it for me, honestly. And I honestly, too, like, I went into it kind of expecting that it'd be like this just cold-blooded, like, assassin who, like, doesn't really care and goes in, goes out, does his thing. But I don't know. Like, it was missing something for me. I need a bit more substance, and it was like the dialogue too just didn't do it for me. I wrote about it in my review where I feel like his character was just, there was a lot of just voiceover and we're hearing the thoughts in his head, and there was just absolutely no personality going on in there. He was just like listing off sayings or proverbs that you've heard, and it kind of doesn't mean anything what he's saying. Like, I don't know, it was just saying stuff to say stuff, and none of it was resonating with me. Wasn't really into the story either, but I can see that the style and the editing and all that, it was a very well made movie, but I don't know, it didn't really do it for me. And
I loved the quote in that movie where the second he sits down and he's about to murder his boss, essentially, and she goes, "You just made me regret not ordering Haagen-Dazs at the end of every meal." You know, I started eating dessert like I've never eaten dessert after that scene. I was like, that's so true. Like, I gotta live now before I have fucking Michael Fassbender sitting across from me with a gun under the table.
Was that the scene with Tilda Swinton?
Yes.
Yeah. That was the best. Yeah. That was the best scene in the movie for me. Like, I would have liked to see more along those lines of those kind of conversations or something like that. I think other than that, I was never really into it. But anyways, that's fair. Like, you guys all loved it. I'm just stating my opinion.
It was basically a straight to Netflix movie with a very limited theatrical release. Me and Nez caught it at the Mayfair in Glebe. Great little theater, pretty awesome. So yeah, it was like, it's a straight to Netflix kind of movie. You know, it's there wasn't too much substance, like you said, Eric. So to your point, but you know, that's kind of what a hitman maybe should be. You know, they kind of lack substance. That's why they do that thing. I don't know.
So my number 9, and this is.
Wait, is it Dallas?
Actually, Dallas.
You?
Yeah, it's Dallas.
Okay, Dallas.
And then you back
Dallas and Nezz twice. Yeah.
Okay. My number 9. I can't believe we're only on number 9. Yeah. But my number 9. It's already been an hour. My number 9 is Mission Impossible.
Okay.
Nobody. If you guys read this, like, come on. Like, Tom Cruise is just a psychopath, and he deserves our adoration. Like, he deserves absolute praise for the death-defying stunts that this guy continues to do. He might be suicidal. Like, I seriously want a mental health check on Tom Cruise. I want somebody to knock on his door every day and be like, "Tom, are you doing okay?" Because this guy is signing up for the ridiculous stuff not even stuntmen want to do. So Mission Impossible is at my number, essentially just for Tom Cruise and his death-defying stunts. And, you know, it's your classic movie. It's got the codes. It's got the riddles. It's got, you know, the spyware. It's got the, you know, the traitors. they're fighting on the top of a train. They're fighting in the air. We got parachutes. We got car chase scenes. It's classic. And, you know, I don't know. I eat that shit up. So, yeah, I love Tom Cruise, and I can't get enough of him.
Okay, you can go ahead.
I'll just say quickly, Nez. I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan. Love this movie, too. Great time at the theater. And, Dallas, you said it all. I echo everything you said.
Okay, so I'm gonna go quick here, and this is gonna be super off the board. My number 9 is actually Priscilla. So I think that Priscilla, I had a lot of issues with it. I liked it. I liked the performances. So I thought Kaylee Spaney as Priscilla was fantastic. She's beautiful in the movie. She did a great job. I'm a huge Jacob Elordi fan in this movie, in Euphoria, in Saltburn. I thought the acting was great. The only big problem I had was that this movie was rated R, and I don't think that Sofia Coppola used her R rating well enough. I don't think this movie should have been R rated at all. I think you could have went a little more gory on that story, but I thought that it was good, not great. But that is my number 9, and my number 8 is Across the Spider-Verse.
Well, you're just taking off your list here. You're not going to let me respond to Priscilla?
I haven't seen it. Yeah, go for it, Dallas.
What, Eric?
I haven't seen it, so I have no comments. I don't know about Matt.
Me neither.
Go for
Me
it,
neither.
Dallas.
Go for it, Dallas.
That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to say that I haven't seen it, and I want to start watching more Jacob Elordi films.
Yeah,
That's
he's big time, like, on the come up. He's gonna be in a lot of movies. I think in like at least 2 this year, and I think a few others in the next few years there. So he's like big on the rise. Good actor.
Yeah, great. And then for 8, I'm gonna go Across the Spider-Verse. It should be higher, but I thought Across the Spider-Verse was fantastic. The animation in that movie is just crazy. The storyline's great. I didn't love the ending. I was sort of like, you know, when there was like 10 minutes left, I was like, hey, where are we going? Like, this movie needs to wrap up. And then they sort of did the old Marvel trick on us where they went, oh, part 2. And I was like, come on. But everything before that, I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. But the ending sort of made it 8 for me. But yeah, so I have Across the Spider-Verse at 8.
Okay, I'll say quickly, I loved Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Great sequel to the Into the Spider-Verse, which is an amazing movie. One of the best Spider-Man movies, if not the best, a lot of people say. And I didn't mind the ending, to be honest, because I feel like there's enough that happened where there was a kind of a resolution to the movie, and they're leaving a bit more like, there's still a bit more to the story that we're gonna leave you wanting more at the end there, and tune in like 2-3 years whenever the next one comes out. But it was, I know what you're saying there, where there's like you thinking that we're just getting ramped up at the end, like the team's together now, and we got to go save Miles, and then they just kind of drop that on us. But I still think that the story resolves itself for the most part, and there's still some that's still left unsolved and has to be wrapped up. So my thoughts quickly.
I'll say my thoughts when I bring it up later on, so go ahead, Dallas.
If their job or if their mission or goal was to get us excited for the third one, mission accomplished. I'm completely wrapped into it. I can't wait. They introduced a bunch of new characters that, I was really excited to see. I don't know. I'm just a sucker for the Spider-Verse right now. Like I said in my review, it's like I just can't believe that they were able to outdo themselves. Like it was even more artistically creative. It was even more exciting. There were brand new characters that you really cared about and weren't just fillers. I don't know. It's just like they're really doing a great job with this franchise right now. So, I hope they don't, beat it into obscurity, but I'd like them to keep the trilogy to be honest. But I absolutely loved it.
And you're at number 8, I believe.
Yeah.
My number 8 is The Killer.
Right.
So I've already, said my 2 cents. David Fincher, Michael Fassbender, Tilda Swinton. It is what it is. It doesn't pretend to be anything else.
Yeah. And I think it's me for...
Yeah.
Fincher, one of the most consistent directors the last 30 years. Anyways, okay, my number 8. Now, this is where making this list was hard for me. I watched a lot of horror films, didn't know how to plug them in my top 10, so I just chose a couple. One of them right now. Number 8, I have Talk to Me, an A24 produced film that came out. Nice. Loved it. I love that they took a genre that we've seen a million movies. Like, we've seen this a million times, but they brought a fresh new twist to the genre, the supernatural genre, and that's what I love the most about it. The original story, love the characters. I actually rewatched this one and got a lot more on second viewing, knowing the outcome. This was a super solid horror film. It's one of the most talked about horror films of the year too. But yeah, Talk to Me, super scary and unsettling watch, and a fresh new twist to the genre of supernatural horror.
I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it really.
I loved it. Can't agree with Matt more. It's like, honestly, the horror genre is, I don't know, it's struggling to find ways to come up with different ways to scare you, shock you, and also tell like an interesting story. Talk to Me nailed it on the head. Had the shock value, had the horror that really creeped you out. Like, I actually felt uncomfortable. I watched it in bed with my girlfriend, and we had to put on something a little lighter afterwards before going to sleep. Like, seriously, we were feeling uncomfortable. It is a really terrifying movie. If you're into that kind of thing, like, I really recommend it. And it's not like, jump scares or anything like that. It's like it's honestly just really creepy. And creative. I just love the style. So, yeah, couldn't agree more.
Nez, have you seen it or?
No, I haven't seen it. I sort of gave up on horror movies. And we talked about this on the last spot. I don't think horror movies this day and age, I don't think they take themselves seriously. But A24 does a great job, whatever they do. And I'm sure it's a solid sort of reimagined horror movie. But horror movies aren't really my cup of tea. But yeah, I think that I'm sure A24 killed it, as they always do, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I feel like I'm in a horror movie right now because I'm just scared of saying what my next 2 movies are based on how the first 2 went. But here we go. So I actually had Dallas. I had Mission Impossible in this spot, and I actually swapped it out last second. Loved Mission Impossible, but how I kind of constructed my list was based on the feeling I got from watching the movies this year, and I really enjoyed Mission Impossible. It was a really fun movie to watch in the theater, crazy action scenes. But this one was one that really got a good reaction out of me, and I laughed a ton watching it. I couldn't leave it off my list. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It would be Theater Camp. Theater Camp.
No, I haven't seen it. But wait, it bumped Mission Impossible completely off your top 10?
Potentially. Mission Impossible is in this 8 spot. I'll just say that.
Wouldn't that just naturally push Mission Impossible to number
Perhaps.
9?
I don't tip picks, Dallas. You'll have to wait and see like everyone else. I'm just saying it was initially in this spot. Theater Camp just snuck in there last second.
I have to Google Theater Camp right now. I don't even...
Yeah.
Really funny movie, honestly. Like, just quickly, it's in the title. It's about kids who go to a camp for like theater class, like drama students and all that. And they're all from like different walks of life, and that's kind of what brings them together. And it's a summer camp that they all go to, and the camp is about to be shut down at the end of summer if they don't get funding, basically. And it's shot like mockumentary style. I talked about on the pod there, so I'm not going to get into like too much. But the first 20 minutes, I wasn't super into it, and we were kind of talking about that before we started this pod, that you got to push past the first 20. I feel like if you're maybe not into a movie, but you've heard good things, just power through, because this one just kept getting better and better as I was going through it. And by the end, I was like dying of laughter at the end. So again, don't want to set the bar too high there, but myself really enjoyed watching this, laughed a lot, really fun time, easy watch. So Theater Camp number 8 for me.
Haven't seen it. I'll have to check it out, Eric.
I've heard of it. Haven't seen it either.
I haven't seen it. Obviously, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I'm just looking up the cast now. I love Ben Platt. He's the main character, or one of them. Love that guy. So, yeah, it looks really funny. Great premise.
Yeah.
So, mockumentary style being like, do you have like, what would be a similar...
Well, it's like kind of like The Office style, where they do like cuts of people talking to the camera and stuff. They're not over the top, but they do take advantage of that like formatting, I would say.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, good stuff. Whew. All right, bullet dodge. All right, so number 7 now. This is one that was like really kind of fits what I was just saying of like feeling watching it, just really good time to enjoy in the theater. Would be Barbie for me, number 7.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was a great movie, honestly.
Yeah, I feel bad for not having it. I don't know why. I skipped over it. It deserves to be in my top 10. I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
It was a great movie.
It was funny. Like
really
the story.
well,
like Margot Robbie, fantastic as Barbie, and Ryan Gosling as Ken too. Amazing. I love the music in the movie as well. And I just thought it was a good time, like good satire of and parody of a lot of societal, things in society. So really enjoyed Barbie, and if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend to check it out.
Sorry to chime in again, but it's like, you know, a lot of people said it was preachy. For me personally, it didn't come off as preachy. For me, it came off as, I thought Ryan Gosling was hilarious.
Yep.
Hilarious. Like when he's applying for the jobs and he thinks he can just get them because he's a guy. You know, that's how it used to be, but you know, now you need less stuff. I thought it was so funny. It's obviously meant to be laughed at. It's meant to be a joke while touching on some, I guess, real issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Barbie. I thought it was really good. Didn't make my top 10, but you know, I thought that Mattel did a good job, sort of laughing at themselves in a way. Margot Robbie, you know, is when it comes to female actresses, she's one of the best. She's not the best for me. I think I think Jessica Chastain is the best female actress out there, but I think Margot Robbie is a close second for me. I look, whether this is controversial or not, I don't know, but I thought that the whole patriarchy storyline was fine. I wasn't mad about it, as a lot of conservatives were. But however, I don't think it did. I don't think it did well to be the main storyline. I don't think you should. I don't think they should have stuck that as the main storyline. I think it as a subplot, it would have been fine. But I think that, you know, sticking to the whole, you know, Barbie Ken storyline would have worked really well. But I don't think the whole patriarchy thing as the main storyline worked. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was great, but loved the movie. I thought the production was fantastic. The set was fantastic. But the acting was great as well. But the whole, I thought the script was meh.
For me, I'm not sure, but yeah, for me, patriarchy wasn't the main storyline. For me, it was all.
Well, it was.
Personally, I felt it was, you know, self-discovery. Like Margot Robbie, her character Barbie, really discovering herself and, you know, feeling lost and not knowing who she is and what she.
Well, she found herself because of patriarchy.
No, we can debate this all night. Yeah. I like this movie too, guys. Just missed my list. Greta Gerwig's 3 for 3 with me. Lady Bird, Little Women, Barbie, all good movies. Big fan of her partner too, Noah Baumbach. I love all his movies too. So solid duo right there. I'll just jump into my number 7, which is the first foreign film on my list. French. I guess it's a French movie, German. I don't know. It's got English, French, and German in it. Anatomy of a Fall. I didn't know what to think when I read the premise of the movie and the running time. It's a long movie, but it's like a court case too, murder court case. I loved it. I was very intrigued the whole time. I was like, I want to know what's gonna happen. Like I just wanted to watch the movie all in one shot, like no breaks, just rip through it. What I liked, why it's on my list, is I like that. I'm not even unclear. I understood 100% of everything that happened in the movie. I still gotta like rewatch it and dissect the clues, because there was a lot of story in this movie and good acting performances, and it made me question a lot of things. And I was flip flopping back and forth on my opinion on like what was going on in the court case, which I like that. Probably a good movie to rewatch. But yeah, Anatomy of a Fall. Not for everybody. It's not like super fast paced, but to me it was super compelling, and the female lead was amazing. So yeah, Anatomy of a Fall, my number 7.
Just say, haven't seen it. This is the first one that I feel like you guys have all seen, like the more critically acclaimed movies of the year. That I've seen a lot of them, but this one is one that's escaped my viewing, unfortunately. So if you'd be so kind as to not spoil too much, go nuts talking about it. But I haven't seen this. It's definitely on the list, though.
You need to check it out. You really need to check it out. Compelling is the word for it. You know, it's a lot like, I'm not sure if you've seen The Hunt with Mads Mikkelsen, but it's kind of that, like, you know, it's an investigation and we don't know who he, and as evidence is revealed, you're like totally persuaded that it's this, and then you're I don't want to give too much away, but it is really intriguing. Like you really get wrapped into it.
It's in my top 5, so I'm gonna wait.
Okay. Right. So I think Dallas now.
I don't know. You might hear a little too much.
Dallas, you're up.
Like, it was fantastic. I hope Nezz just dives into it.
No, he said he's gonna talk about it later. Like, it's in his list as well.
Yeah.
So what's your number 7, Dallas?
Dal, you're up on 7.
Yeah.
So my number 7, I'm not sure if this is in you guys' top 10s, but Beau is Afraid. Anybody? No.
I missed it. I didn't watch it.
I haven't seen it either, no.
It's a long one. It's Ari Aster. It's pretty long. I think it's around 3 hours. It's with Joaquin Phoenix, who's cast perfectly as a deranged schizophrenic who was haphazardly given the wrong medication, and then we just watch his mind absolutely unravel. And Ari Aster is a master of detail. I really do find he's a master of detail. In Midsommar, in Hereditary, like, you could watch his movies at least 3 or 5 times and constantly notice new and different details in the films. Like, there's tons of multiple storylines that are happening simultaneously. So it's a fantastic film. And as somebody who worked with people with like schizophrenia, I don't know, I found it really intriguing. I found it really interesting. And obviously, it's an exaggeration, I'm sure. It's his take on it. But it was absolutely exciting. I think you guys should really check it out. There's never a dull moment. That's why it's at my number 7.
I'm not a huge Ari Aster fan. I stopped watching Midsommar halfway through. I thought it was, I can
not a horror movie guy.
Look,
he needs to give it another chance.
No one loves more like crazy like effed up movies than me, but Midsommar for me was just like, I was like, all right, whatever. But I haven't seen Beau is Afraid, but yeah, look, I understand why someone would like it, but for me, I haven't seen it.
I've heard this is a very strange movie. Like, I don't really know much about it other than like it's a weird one. I've heard that there aren't many movies out there like this one. That there aren't many comps for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's as weird as they come. It's a guy with mental derangement, delusion issues, and we're seeing everything from his perspective. So yeah, things are going to get askew. I find it really fun and engaging because you're kind of trying to guess as to what's really going on. Like, what's the reality of his character, of what Beau's situation is, because we're seeing his perspective, which is obviously like a diluted perspective. So it's kind of fun to guess, like, oh, I wonder where he is now or what's happening now, because Ari Aster definitely hints at everything that's actually happening and what the reality is, and so yeah, I cannot wait for the director's commentary.
Okay.
Nice.
Right on.
So for me, it's 7-6.
Yep.
Okay, so 7, I have Saltburn.
Nice.
I love Saltburn. And we just talked about sort of, crazy effed up movies. Yeah. Saltburn is definitely one of them, especially with those 3 key scenes. I talked about Jacob Elordi. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I think he's fantastic. I think he had a big year for Jacob Elordi. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a really good actor. I think he can get into his character's skin very well. The storyline, look, a lot of people think it fell flat and it had no substance. I thought it had a lot of substance. Yeah. I thought the ending was really good. Mm-hmm. I think Barry Keoghan, I think he's fantastic. We first saw him in Dunkirk, but I think he's really, really good. I think he does a fantastic job. Mm-hmm. I think he may be one of those method actors that we've been missing out on the last couple of years. But I thought from start to end, I think it was beautiful to watch. 1, I thought the ending was good. 2, and I think the acting was great. 3, so I really, really enjoyed Saltburn. I thought it was fantastic. And for 6, just outside my top 5, I'm going to go Past Lives. I thought Past Lives. Nice. I thought Past Lives was fantastic. A great romance from start to finish. I'm really excited to see what Celine Song does next. I thought the acting was fantastic. I thought the plot was great. The story in itself was fantastic. And I encourage everyone to watch Past Lives. It's just so good. I thought it was so good. I wrestled with having Past Lives at 5 with the movie I have at 5, but I'm gonna stick with my 5th pick. So Past Lives, fantastic. Could have been easily in the top 5, but it's at 6 for me.
Yeah, for me it's my number 4. Couldn't agree more. Past Lives is so fantastic. I just, I fell in love with the characters, honestly. I just love seeing them at different stages of their life. They meet as kids. We see them later on as, young adults, and then further on as mature adults. And, it's just, I don't know, beautiful story. It's very real. And yet very engaging. So, yeah, I love it. Couldn't agree more, Ness.
It's also very high for me. I'll just give my spiel right now in Past Lives. It's the only movie on my list I've watched twice, actually. Love the characters. It was like bittersweet at the end. Like, it really, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but like, it really made me think, this movie, after thinking about like past decisions I made and stuff like that. Anyways, thought-provoking. This is my kind of movie too. Probably the shortest Asian movie I've ever seen, because they're normally well over 2 hours, but this one's a lot shorter and gets going pretty fast. Anyways, loved Past Lives too, guys, and I'll bring it up later, and I'm saying what I'm saying right now for it.
Well, I know it's going to come up later. Like, I have not seen this again. This is another one that was on my radar for the longest time, just never had the chance, or wasn't playing in the Landmark Theater in Orleans, right? Talked about this a bunch on the pod. We just don't get these movies. Anyway, so it's too bad. Glad you guys all have it on your list there, but it is not on mine. So
could have sent you a link, Eric. I could have sent you a link. Ask me next time.
This weekend, I'll hook it up for me then, man. All right, Dallas. What's your number 6, Dallas?
what am I on now? I'm on
6,
number
I think.
6.
Yeah.
6. Okay. So yeah, my number 6 is The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar.
Mm.
With Cumberbatch. Now, should this be on my list? It's almost a short film. I think it's 39 minutes long.
Mm.
I watched it 5 times.
Wow.
5 times. I don't know. It just struck a chord with me. I was like, wow, like I could watch this again and again. And I think I figured out why. Wes Anderson, when he's in the zone, he gets you into a rhythm. His really successful movies are rhythmic. They like get you into it, and then you're just like in this groove with Wes Anderson's dialogue. It's like, kind of Aaron Sorkin-esque, where it's just kind of like go one after another. And yeah, with this one, he found his groove, and I was completely head over heels. And then, it's Roald Dahl, a famous child author. So, it's a story that's already proven to be very successful, combined with Wes Anderson's rhythmic kind of dialogue. It just, I don't know. It was like a pleasure. It was like a guilty pleasure for me. I would put it on just like if I was bored or something, just in the background. And I couldn't stop watching it. It was really nice. Yeah.
I missed it. I'm kicking myself right now. I gotta watch it. Maybe watch it after. Maybe watch it after we get off the pod. Actually, I just totally skipped it, Dallas. Kicking myself right now.
Yeah, you should be kicking yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it either, honestly.
Eric,
I'm going to talk about that movie in a second.
Okay. I mean,
Okay.
I love Wes Anderson.
with-
I'm a big fan of Wes Anderson's style. It just this one I skipped it. Maybe I kind of omitted it because it was a shorter movie too. It wasn't a full feature-length film. I've seen almost all of his movies too, and I love all of them.
Yeah.
So it just maybe one that I just didn't really consider as much because it wasn't a full a longer movie. So maybe it.
Eric, can I?
I missed both his movies this year actually, and
Yeah,
now I'm guessing this is the one to watch. So
Yeah.
I heard. Yeah. Anyways.
What's up, Dallas?
So
Okay.
Yeah, I missed.
Okay, number 6.
Oh.
No, Dallas, you go. Do you go?
No, sorry.
He's just
I
trying to
was just saying I missed Asteroid City as well.
Okay.
That one slipped under my radar too. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I heard Asteroid City is divisive, but anyways,
Yeah.
number 6, we already talked about it, and I'm just going to give my 2 cents. Number 6 for me is Across the Spider-Verse. This movie has no business looking this good. It was super hyped for me. I folded my arms before watching it. I'm like, impressed me, because I'm doubting that it could top the first one, and it did. I could spend 10 minutes talking about the visuals, and I wouldn't even do it justice. That's how amazing it looked. I watched it on my TV at home. I didn't even watch this at the theater, which is a stupid mistake by my part. But loved how it ended too. I was like, there's 10 minutes left. There's no way they can do this. So what's going to happen? Anyways, loved every minute of this movie just because of the visuals. It was eye candy. This movie is eye candy. I'm done talking about it. We've already talked about it. That's my number 6, Across the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Visual eye candy. It's a trip. It's a trip.
Yeah.
Seeing it in theaters was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
For the visuals, I fully agree that it's way better than the first one. As a movie in general, I still like the first one more.
The first one almost made me cry. Maybe I did cry. It's none of your business. But the second one, yeah, I definitely didn't have the same emotional, elicitation. But yeah, holy crap! It's literally a trip. I was sitting in the theater. I was sitting pretty much to the point where the screen was blocking my peripheral. So I just had full view. And I've never done LSD. I don't plan on doing LSD, but I can just safely assume that's what LSD is like.
Nice.
It's a good comparison. So, no, great pick, Matt. Of course, I loved it as well. We'll talk about it later. Like this to segue into my next pick. And again, I don't really feel like I need to defend my picks. I'm still going to, though. These are favorites, not best of the year in my books. It's just favorites for me. And this is one that going into the year I was very excited for. It was a big year for animated movies. There was a lot of different styles that were a part of the different movies that I've seen. I saw a lot of animated movies last year, and one that, like I said, I had circled on the calendar, which is one that I've seen twice. One of the few ones I've seen twice of last year. Made me feel like I was 8 years old again. Super Mario Bros. Movie number 6 for me.
Nice.
For me, Super Mario Bros. Loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Got a lot of hate, honestly, because I think a lot of people hate, for some reason, they hate Chris Pratt. But I thought Super Mario Bros. Is just outside my top 10. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It's just an enjoyable watch. You know, you watch it. There's no sort of real substance to it. You know, Peach is still super hot.
Oh yeah.
As always. But loved Super Mario Bros. I thought it was really enjoyed watching it. You know, it's sort of like a fun time at the theaters type thing. And I loved it. I like that pick. It's not on my top 10, but I like that pick a lot.
Thank you, Nez. That means a lot coming from you, given how we started off with this list there. But no, I love to hear that, getting some support. It's great. You know, I loved it too. Like, it's just a straightforward movie. There's no other messages in there too. It's just, it is what it is. Like, you go in there, turn your brain off. And like I said, for me, it brought me back to being younger. Like, I grew up on Mario games, still play them to this day. Love them. And I just love that world.
It's super nostalgic.
Exactly. And they nailed all of those different aspects, from pulling stuff from different games, like the Mario Kart in there, the different layouts, like the 2D scenes, the 3D. I was just a sucker for it all. And I really hope they keep going down this path of movies in this universe, like the Nintendo different properties. I'll be there opening night for all of them. So I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts, Matt or Dallas, on Super Mario Bros. Matt, I know you've seen it a couple of times.
I didn't see it, but
but
yeah, you know, I heard it was great. I plan on checking it out for sure. It's definitely on my to-do list. I heard it got a lot of hate because Chris Pratt is not Italian. I mean, Mario's hardly Italian. It's such a small part of who he is. Like, he's a video game character created by a Japanese company. Like, who cares? You know, people, I don't know, people just want to be divisive sometimes. But yeah, I heard it was fantastic. I definitely plan on checking it out.
Charlie Day was fantastic as Luigi as well.
Underused.
And Jack Black.
Oh yeah.
And
even Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong was fantastic.
Yeah. Just quickly, I said I only rewatched a movie twice. Well, actually, this is the movie I've seen the most this year, for the simple fact that my girlfriend's daughter, who's almost 6, watches this movie almost every day. We watched it this morning again. Like, what? She was sick today. Yeah, like, I've seen this movie maybe 40 times because it's her movie. You know, kids rewatch the same movie. So you know what? I can almost recite this movie. I've seen it way too many times, basically. But you know what? There's still parts that, like, I'm pumped up for. And I've seen the action scenes a million times, and it's still great. It holds up, guys. Trust me. I've seen it, like, a lot. Always at, like, the beginning more than the end, too, because we don't always make it through the whole thing. But, yeah, Super Mario Brothers, very solid.
If this movie was released when I was 6 years old, this would be my favorite. I'd be watching it at least once a day for sure. No questions asked.
Yeah. Exactly. She loves it. She eats it up. She loves the singing, like, Bowser singing and, like, Peach. And anyways... Yeah, Eric, it's you again, I believe.
Yep. So I'm going back-to-back here picks that I know Nez are going to like. So for me, top 5. We're entering the next tier of movies. I did this for the TV shows, too. I had 3 tiers of TV shows, and doing the same for movies. Second tier of movies for me, Oppenheimer, number 5.
Nice.
Whoa.
So I know what you're thinking right away. You're like, how is that not top 3? How is that not number 1, you might even be asking yourself. For me, I was a big fan of Oppenheimer, honestly. The running time, I think it maybe bothered some people. For me, I was hooked the whole time. Didn't know much about his story, and wanted to just find out where it was going with the cuts and time. Again, I've only seen this movie once, and I feel like I have said this on the pod. I'll say it again. I have a strong feeling this is a movie that gets better with multiple viewings. So I'm confident in saying that once I watch this movie again, my opinion of it will only get better. And I've heard from people who've seen it multiple times that they liked it more, which each and every viewing. But for me, one-time watch, absolutely loved it. Performance is awesome. Big bounce back for me with Christopher Nolan. Like I said at the onset of the pod, wasn't really a crazy fan of Tenet, and I didn't really like Dunkirk that much either. So this is a nice return to form in my books. and I am a fan of Christopher Nolan's work by and large. So really happy with this one. And I went into it with high expectations, and also seeing that it could end up being a letdown, given that there were such high expectations for it. Massive cast, biopics, not always my thing, but no, this one, he nailed it, and I was a big fan. So here, guys, Oppenheimer.
I'll let Nez jump in because I know he's probably just frothing at the mouth.
You're gonna have to wait to see what I say about Oppenheimer.
Fair enough.
I wholeheartly disagree with it being 5, but you know it's a personal preference, so I'll
defer. Okay.
Keep it there. I'll keep it there.
Okay. Dallas.
Yeah, I loved it. It's my number 2. You know, I'll tell you why I loved it briefly. You know, first off, Christopher Nolan, huge bias. I just love the guy. I think he nails down exactly how a movie should be shot. You know, we've heard actors talk about how his sets are just different. Cillian Murphy has discussed it, where, you know, you walk onto a Christopher Nolan set and it's just a different vibe. You know, you're watching a real movie there. And also for me, the story is one of the most important things. And a story about the atomic bomb, like, how have we not had a biopic done about this yet? It's like unbelievable. So to have Christopher Nolan take that job is, for me, it's a dream come true. And yeah, I learned a lot, and it was I don't know, it was just perfectly shot. It was fantastic. It touched on his personal life, which was fine. But yeah, I just loved the absolute race to discovering the science behind creating a bomb that could wipe out. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. That's what Christopher Nolan's movies do to me. I just want to wrap my mind around it. And we get, like, can you believe we get all the greatest minds, the greatest scientists together for what? Not to stop world hunger, not to invent, you know, a carbon-free emission car. No, we get the greatest minds on planet Earth to discover and invent a bomb that can eliminate hundreds of thousands of lives. Like, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'll just say my thoughts on it right now, too, because I think Nez has it higher on his list than me. Like, I'll have it high, too, but I'll just say my thoughts now. Loved it. Return to form for Nolan. I agree with Eric. Honestly, that was what you said. I can't top that. All I'm going to say is I wasn't bored at the theater. I loved every scene. Yeah. I love the scenes with Albert Einstein. That's all I'm going to say. Like, those little moments were perfection. Cillian Murphy, fucking awesome. And we'll let Nez talk about it later. And, like, I'll probably agree with everything you say too, Nez. So, okay, my number 5, we've already talked about it, and I'm going to explain why I loved it. Number 5 for me is Saltburn. The reason why it's this high on my list is I love shock cinema, or disturbing, if you want to call it, or exploitation. Like, I love seeing the shock value of that stuff. I just eat it up. Poor choice of words. Barry Keoghan was amazing, and Jake Ellerdy too. I loved him in Euphoria. He's such a scumbag, so this was weird to see him like in a different light. Love the setting. All the side characters were good too, like the mom and dad, and I don't know. These are the types of movies for me. Like, this is like the movies I like to watch. The movies that kind of have like twisted, dark images and stories, you know. And in this movie, like, the hype, there was a lot of hype with the shocking scenes, and it lived up to the hype for me. This is a movie I'll rewatch. It's not a perfect movie story wise. Like, there's a lot of coincidences, I guess, like leading up. But you know what? It's not perfect, but it's one of my favorites of the year. Number 5 for me, Saltburn.
I know we've talked about a lot. One other thing I feel like that hasn't been brought up is that I found this movie hilarious. I don't know about you guys there, but I was laughing quite a bit watching this. Like, it was sneaky, very funny. Rosamund Pike had me just dying. Like, almost every one of her lines was hilarious. The delivery too was just money.
Yeah, Eric, I was gonna say it's a dark comedy.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, I don't want to say any spoilers, but the scene where they're wheeling out a certain corpse and trying to eat, and, you know, the dad's yelling, just, you know, and you just hear like them struggling. there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's hilarious. It's a great dark comedy.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Nice. So at Dallas, it'd be you now, number 5.
Number 5, yeah, Spider-Man.
Nice.
Crushed it. LSD trip. We've been there. Yeah, number 5.
Nice.
All right. Number 5 for me is The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. So for me, look, I watched Asteroid City.
Oh.
Did not like it at all. I thought that was back-to-back misses for Wes Anderson. His other movie escapes me. The French Dispatch. Yeah, I thought both of those were massive misses for Wes Anderson. I thought, although a short film, by definition, I thought The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar was fantastic. It's Wes Anderson back in his old form. Benedict Cumberbatch, I think he's fantastic. But for me, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, start to finish, hooked. And also, I'm a teacher and I teach English class. So we had a unit on movie reviews, which obviously I love. And one thing, and sort of the summative evaluation for that was that they had to watch a movie and then they had to sort of write a review on it. And to prepare them for their summative evaluation, I put The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar in class, and I said, look, we're going to watch this movie, and then you guys are going to write a review on the movie that we're going to watch. It's a perfect storm, right? It's 40 minutes, and a class is 75 minutes in high school. So they watched it, they wrote a review, they loved it. I loved it again. It was the second time I had seen it. I thought it's Wes Anderson at his peak, in my opinion. The ending is fantastic. I don't think you'll be disappointed when you watch it. I think it's so good.
Sweet.
But for me, 5, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, for sure.
Yeah, I hate setting people's expectations so high about movies, because I feel like I always set them up for disappointment, because they go in with like this inflated expectation, and then they're like, oh, well, it's good, but it's not breathtaking. But yeah, for me, it's like, it just hits. It's so good. Like the moving sets, like everything is just so detailed. It's classic Wes Anderson. It like takes me back to Grand Budapest, to me, his best.
Yeah. By far.
Just, everything's moving. The sets are moving. Everything's going. It's hilarious. It's so funny. So yeah, I don't know. For me, it's fantastic. You guys,
for me, Wes Anderson, my take on him, a lot of people think he's overrated. I don't think that, but I think that Wes Anderson has one like great movie, which is Grand Budapest, and all his other movies are good. And I think that The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar is like good, great. I think it's there. So for me, I loved it. And number 4 for me, I'm gonna go The Holdovers.
Nice.
Look, Paul Giamatti's the man.
Yeah,
he is the man.
Yeah,
and this is a hot take, but Eric, you should probably clip this. I think Paul Giamatti is going to win the Oscar for Best Actor. I think he's going to beat out Cillian Murphy for Best Actor. He won the Critic Choice Awards last weekend, which is big. And if he wins the BAFTA coming up, he's going to win the Oscars. So I watched Maestro, and it's also my top 10, but I watched Maestro, and when I watched it, I sort of said, okay, I think Bradley Cooper is going to win, but Bradley Cooper, for some reason, got a lot of hate, so I don't think he's going to win anymore. and it's between Cillian and obviously I would prefer Cillian to win. But I really think now that Paul Giamatti is going to win the Oscar for Best Actor for The Holdovers, start to finish. It's a wholesome story. It's very touching. Paul Giamatti's fantastic. Everything he does, he's good. I mean,
yeah, I could agree more. I think it's neck and neck between Cillian and Giamatti.
It's neck and neck. It's neck and neck. For the type of movie that it is, and the amount of Oscars that Oppenheimer is going to win, and I'm going to talk about that when I get to Oppenheimer. I think that the one caveat is that Paul Giamatti will win the Oscars for The Holdovers.
Okay.
So that's my number 4.
I like it.
I'll talk about it later.
Yeah, me too. I have it as my number.
Okay.
No.
Your turn, Alice. Yeah.
Yeah?
4.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Past Lives. We've talked about Past Lives. Absolutely loved it. Great romance. It's so real. For me, it was the realism. And it's just a fantastic story. Like, it could be based on a true story. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure that story's happened a million times to a million different people. And, it just encapsulates, like, these, like, distance relationships and lost love and, just kind of falling out of touch with somebody that you still think about and care about. And yeah, for me, Past Lives is my number 4. You guys need to, if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah, it's on the list.
I also like their faces are worth like 100 words. Like some of the shots, like what are they thinking right now? Past Lives is my number 4 too, actually. So I'll just keep going. I didn't know where to place this one. Like honestly, like my top 5 could all be number 1 possibly. But anyways, I already talked about Past Lives. We can move on to Eric's number 4. But yeah, for a great movie. Watched it twice.
Well, I just wanted to also mention, Eric. Sorry, but I also wanted to mention just about Past Lives. One of the best characters is the American husband.
Yeah.
He's just struggling to cope with this, what the hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here, you could do a nice character breakdown on the American husband. It's really fun.
Okay, right on.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. No, I mean, I haven't seen Past Lives, so I'll be sure to look out for the American husband and see where to dissect that character maybe in a future episode.
Yeah.
Who knows? But no, great picks. Now I'm really I'm regretting not seeing this one, and I didn't mention, but haven't seen Holdovers as well. So this one now, my number 4. This is one where I look at Oppenheimer could easily surpass once I watch it again, both the one that I'm gonna say and Oppenheimer. So me again, it's feeling in the theater, and I was just hooked. Again, longer movie, start to finish, a series of movies that I enjoy from 1 to now 4. So me it would be John Wick 4, number 4 movie of the year. Just absolutely love them. I love those John Wick movies, honestly. Don't really feel like there's too much more to say about it. I love seeing Keanu Reeves perform these stunts and just how they keep kind of like the Mission Impossible franchise. Like they just keep leveling up in the way that they do action sequences. And with John Wick, it's just like the hand-to-hand, the gunplay, knife play, and I mean again, expanded on the world. Great villain in this one, the Bill Skarsgård. I was a big fan of his character. And
Bill Skarsgård's very good.
He's fantastic.
So yeah, and I mean I don't know where this franchise goes now going forward. We're gonna see a John Wick 5. Who knows? I feel like this is a strong, could be a strong final installment in this series. One of the best ones in my opinion. I'd have this and 1 as my favorite. Be a toss-up. I've obviously seen the first one way more times, but I love this 4th one. I think it was the best of the sequels, no doubt. So that'd be my number 4 pick.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But I've seen.
Me neither.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I saw it at. Go finish your thought, Dallas.
Well, I was just gonna say I need to check it out.
Okay. I saw it at the theater. Eric, I fully enjoyed it too. This was would have made my top 15, because I had a blast watching this. It's a long movie, but I wasn't bored for a second because it's filled with these huge action set pieces that honestly all deserve to be like the climax of a lesser action movie. But here they're just peppered throughout the movie, so you jump from one to the other. Anyways, good pick, Eric.
Exactly. It just never stops. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 3 pick. This actually I had as high as number 2 until I rejigged some stuff later down the line as I made my list. Didn't expect to like this movie as much as I did. And I've talked about it on the pod already. I'm not a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles guy growing up, but I absolutely love this movie, Mutant Mayhem. Absolutely had a blast with this. Thought it was hilarious. Great animation style. And just going into it, had kind of low expectations, or just decent expectations, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of pop culture references in there that resonated with me. I like the story, just kind of trying to find a place in the world to fit in if you're a bit different. Kind of thing, and great action, great music. I had a great time with this one. I don't know if you guys have checked it out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I haven't seen it, no.
I haven't seen it.
No, I haven't seen it.
Boys, missing out. You get spending too much time
Eric,
watching
you saw
Cast
30
Live.
movies this year.
Eric's really going off the board, Eric.
Yeah, Eric, you saw 33 movies this year.
Hey,
we're just completely on different planets.
I said it going into it. I knew I'd have a very different list than you guys because I am missing these movies that are on my list. I do want to see them. I just didn't get a chance to. But, I'm going from the heart here with these picks.
Love it.
That one's on my list to check out because I heard really good things about it. Just the style. And in your review, Eric, you wrote you get used to it pretty fast and you're all in. It's very unique.
It's
looking.
really different for sure.
Yeah. All right, my number 3, we've already talked about it, and we're going to hear Nez give his magnum opus on it. But my number 3 is Oppenheimer. We've already talked about it. All I'm going to say is I love Nolan's choice of having the 3 separate the Jason Clarke interrogation timeline, the black and white, the beginning, the origin, mixing the narrative. Basically, I like the narrative and how he presented it, non-linear narrative, showing the 3 different moments of his life. Anyways, we'll talk about Nez will give the closing thoughts on that movie. That's my number 3 though, Oppenheimer.
I guess we're gonna.
Good choice. It's a bit low for me on 3, but I
could have easily been 1, but yeah, 3 is a solid for me. It's a good spot.
It's a great spot for it. Nothing.
Yeah, once you get to the top 3, all of them are kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So Dallas, what would be your number 3?
My number 3 was Holdover.
Nice.
Now, Paul Giamatti, it goes without saying, he was incredible, and I just loved his character, how we kept discovering new things about his character, and how it kind of explained his personality and why he is the way he is, and, he kind of becomes more revealing when, at first, he's such a steadfast character that you're like, there's not much more to this guy, that he's just kind of a prick, he's just very strict, and he demands the best, but then we discover that he's actually very flawed himself, and but for me, who stole the show was Dominic Sessa, who plays the young man. Get this. So Alexander Payne goes to a bunch of locations to shoot. He goes to this private school. He's like, oh, this looks like a good shooting location. Meets a young man in their theater program and goes, oh, you look like you'd fit in. This young man who's never been in a film before to start as a private school student while attending his private school. So he essentially got Dominic Sessa in his home environment himself, essentially. So it was just, I thought he stole the show. I couldn't believe that was his first blockbuster film. He was such a natural. And he started to go to that school based off of a hockey scholarship. So, hockey player, we love that. Go Sens go.
Yep.
Yes, well said, well done.
And Dominic Sessa, Paul Giamatti, fantastic.
Yeah, Dominic Sessa, I mean, he was fantastic. It's a funny story because Alexander Payne was director. With the casting director of that movie, they had trouble finding sort of a young actor. So they basically went to that school and said, show us your art, your drama department. And they found Dominic Sessa at that school. And they went, okay, Dominic Sessa will do. And he fucking killed it. So good for him. I hope it really kickstarted his career. You know, I had it a 4, obviously, but it's so good, and the acting is great. She's gonna I forget her name, but you know, sort of like the lunch lady, I guess. She's gonna win most likely Best Supporting Actress, probably.
She was great.
Yeah.
So Nezz, back-to-back 3-2, but give us your one first.
So for me, 3 is gonna be Anatomy of a Fall. Look, I thought Anatomy of a Fall, start to finish, was fantastic. The acting was great, and I wrote this in my Letterboxd review. It sort of feels like you're not really watching the movie. The direction is so good. Like you're in those courtroom scenes, and you're sort of like, you know, how did they film this? Because I don't know if they sort of set up a bunch of cameras, and it was like, all right, we're doing this, and sort of. They obviously didn't do this, but it felt as though they were like, we're doing this in one shot, and there's a bunch of cameras set up, and we're gonna pick the best sort of the best shot for whichever scene is going through. But you know, like the courtroom scenes, it literally feels like you're in a courtroom for real, and you're following a real life sort of like possible sort of murder trial, and I thought it was fantastic. From the acting is great. It's a French movie for the most part, and the subtitles weren't working for me, and thank God I'm French. So I just said, you know, like I just said, well, fuck it, I'm French, so I'll just listen to it. So start to finish, I thought it was great, and it's one of those movies where it can be higher, but it's not, because of my other 2 movies that were fantastic. But Anatomy of a Fall, everyone needs to watch it. France, for some reason, they didn't nominate. They didn't sort of apply this movie to the Oscars for some reason as a sort of foreign film or whatever. So that's a huge miss for France.
Yeah.
But Anatomy of a Fall, so good. The setting is really awesome. Sort of like this house in the woods, and it's, you know, in the middle of winter, and the acting is great. There's some flashback scenes that are fantastic. Start to finish, I mean, you can't go wrong with Anatomy of a Fall. So yeah, that's my number 3. Before you guys get into that, if you want to, I'll go number 2.
Hold on, I just want honorable mention. Antoine Reynards, the prosecutor, he was fantastic.
Killed it.
He killed it.
He killed it.
I thought he was going.
And number 2 for me is Poor Things. Since Dallas has Oppenheimer number 2, I'm guessing Poor Things is number 1 for him. So Poor Things for me, I went to the movies, as I do fairly often. I went alone, and I went to go watch it, and it was funny because I knew that it was sort of a very sexual movie, and it was funny because 2 grandmas walked in, so it was me and 2 grandmas. It was me and 2 grandmas in the movie theater, and I texted Dallas. I'm like, yo, 2 grandmas. Holy shit, man. But they loved it. They were laughing the whole time. They were really into it. They were talking about it on the way out. They loved it. Poor Things. I mean, look, I've talked about actresses. Margot Robbie's up there. For me, Jessica Chastain is still number 1. Emma Stone, my God, wow. If she's not third, I mean, she's up there. I mean, she's great in everything she does. La La Land, which is one of my favorite movies, she's fantastic in. And the movie that a lot of people hate, the trilogy that a lot of people hate, which is The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. And we talked about this on the last pod. Yeah. I'm an original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man fan. However, I think that Andrew Garfield is the better actor. Andrew Garfield is one of the best actors out there. by far. The movies are fine, but Emma Stone kills it in those movies again. And in Poor Things, it's tour de force. Like, she is, I mean, she is fantastic. And I wrote this in my letterbox review, and it's going to be an absolute shame. And I mean shame that she's going to lose to Lily Gladstone, because Lily Gladstone is going to win. And we haven't talked about Killers of the Flower Moon. I have a lot of problems with that movie. Lily Gladstone's fine. I think she suffered from a bad script, and she's obviously going to win because of the whole sort of,
politically correct. Yeah,
it's a politically correct sort of pick. She's going to win 100%. This, if there's a slam dunk when it comes to the Oscars, it's that Lily Gladstone is going to win. And it's not to take away from Lily Gladstone, but it's an absolute shame that Emma Stone's not going to win. It's an absolute shame. I think it's a travesty that she's not going to win. But my God, she's so good in it. And Emma Stone, good job. Willem Dafoe, good job. And I think that the acting is fantastic. I think the story is fantastic. I think the set pieces are really, really nice in this movie. The story's great. Yorgos, he's really good. He's not gonna win Best Director, and I don't think Poor Things is gonna win Best Picture. But I think he deserves his flowers. I think that if he keeps going on this trail, he's gonna win a lot in the future. But Poor Things for me too, so good. And if it wasn't for Oppenheimer, it probably would have been one for me.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
I've loved all of Yorgos Lanthimos' other movies, so it's not a stretch to say I'll probably love this movie too. I'm just waiting to watch it. So,
Matt,
yeah,
love to hear that, because I was kind of worried that it'd be your number one or two. I'm like, all right, these guys all have the same picks except for me here. But no, great to hear. They just started They're airing this at the Landmark that I talked about earlier in Orleans, so I am gonna go check this out this week. It's on my list of things to do. So
a lot of sex.
So I've heard.
Looking forward to it.
So, yeah.
Looking forward to that.
So yeah, no, great rundown of it, Nez. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it.
I told Dallas, I was like, I'm really happy I saw this movie by myself. Because
awkward,
my
right?
girlfriend.
There's a lot of sex in there. My God, it's great.
Yeah, I had no idea what I'm getting myself into.
So Dallas, number two.
My number two is Oppenheimer. It was neck and neck with Poor Things. Like I said about the top three, they're kind of interchangeable. They're all my number one, honestly, all three of them. And I think we've touched on Oppenheimer enough. I want to dive into my number one, if I may, Poor Things. This is my kind of movie. Like, it's every stage of life. And I know, you guys are saying Lily Gladstone will probably, take the Oscar. I really hope she doesn't, though, just because, and it's probably not her fault or anything, but she's so one-dimensional in Killers of the Flower Moon. Like, there's not much to her character. We don't really see too much, vacillating emotion from her. Whereas Emma Stone, we get to see her at literally every stage of life. She had to be essentially like 7 different characters. We see her at the beginning of infancy to the point of self-actualization and everything in between. And as it happens, in between, I guess there's a lot of sex as pertains to her development.
Fantastic.
But yeah. Oh, and if I can dive into the sex scenes, this is a PG-13 podcast, but they're hot scenes. Mark Ruffalo is a connoisseur.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mark Ruffalo puts it down.
All right.
Mark Ruffalo is hilarious.
The guy can move his hips.
Yeah. I loved the scenes between Mark Ruffalo and Emma Stone. I just thought it was so funny. He was hilarious. You know, it's the classic, like, I don't want to give too much away because a lot of you guys haven't seen it, but, you know, it's the classic, like, oh, you have the nice guy who's always been there for you and blah, 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 and you know he's going to be there, but then you have this adventurous guy who's, like, you know, brass, kind of arrogant, and he's exciting. Yeah. So, it tried to look at it as, like, all of these different life stages. And for me, it was absolutely a perfect movie. Like, there was nothing bad about it. I could watch it again and again. And I walked out of there feeling like I got my money's worth, not just because of Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo being in, you know, 20 different sex scenes. But that's my 2 cents.
Awesome. I need to check this out ASAP, and I will. My number two is a movie no one's going to have on their list. I couldn't do this list without including my favorite horror movie of the year. So my number 2 is When Evil Lurks. It's an Argentinian horror film. Extremely unsettling. This movie has images that I'll never forget. I don't even know if I'll rewatch this movie anytime soon, but there are some images burned in my brain, like shock, gore, intense, like unsettling. The last 10 years has seen like some of the best horror films of all time. Like, we've gotten gems from the different from foreign cinema, basically. Every year there's some like movies like this that nobody talks about, don't get theatrical releases, but I follow the horror scene very closely, listen to podcasts constantly, read up on them, and this was one of the top of the year for horror. It's a genre we've seen before, but what sets it apart is the performances by the actors, the extreme like gore and shock, and just the pacing, everything about it I loved. It's When Evil Lurks, Argentinian horror film. Very cool movie. I'm so biased, guys. Like, I love horror movies. I rarely pick them apart. Like, I just have a smile on my face every time I watch them. So, like, it's hard to be objective, but like, this movie created a lot of buzz with in the horror community. And When Evil Lurks, number 2, my favorite horror film of the year. Yeah.
Nice. Love it. I haven't seen it, I haven't heard of it, but I love to see it get some representation on this list. That's been lacking a bit of horror, honestly. I love to see it.
Letterboxd, and I really wanted to see it, but I just didn't end up seeing it, and now I'm really kicking myself. Like, that was a stellar review, so I really should have checked it out when I could have.
Yeah, good stuff. We know Nez's thoughts on horror, so I think we can just bypass his take on this. So
Not a horror guy.
Which is fine. I recently got into the genre, like, I want to say maybe 5-ish years ago, and there's a lot of good horror out there, and I'm like, I'll check this one out.
When Halloween comes around, though, I just binge horror.
Seasonally correct.
Yeah. Yes. During the Halloween season, it's all horror for me, all thriller. Like, it's got to be, you know, on every single night, basically. I love to get in the mood of Halloween surrounded by horror.
It's a thing to do. So I'll go with my number 2. It's been on everyone's list. So me, it's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Absolutely loved it. Went into it with high expectations, again, based on how much I liked the first one. They're hyping it up that they're just making everything bigger and better. And somehow they did, honestly. Like, I didn't really think they would, but I would say this is a better movie than the first one. Again, might be a hot take, but just love the expansion of the world, the new characters. We've kind of already all touched on it there, so not too much to say there, but really just a big fan of the development that we're taking in the story, the world, and where it's going. I think the next one's going to be amazing too. Like, I don't think they're going to drop the ball on the Spider-Verse. Like, I'm pretty set on and convinced that they're going to nail it and close out this trilogy perfectly. So
yeah, they will.
Number 2 for me. Number 1, Matt, you might know what I'm going with here. I don't know if you, Nezz and Dallas, would know there, but this is one like you, Nezz. I went to see this one alone, which is not something that I enjoy doing. I like going to see movies with at least one person to talk about the movie after the movie. I don't really love talking during a movie. I like to just be dialed in. And this one, I was absolutely dialed in the whole time. And it's while I was watching the movie, I'm like, this is my number 1, no questions asked.
Wow.
I was just in it the whole time, what a ride. Just the feeling it evoked for me was very strong. Godzilla -1, Japanese movie.
Wow.
Not sure if you guys have had a chance to check it out. You've probably heard the hype about it and how well it's been received. So I went into this movie high expectations. And like the first 10 minutes in, I'm like, all right, I know this is going to be an absolute banger of a movie. Wow. And it's not even just for the violence, the monstrosities you come to expect from a Godzilla movie, right? It's just there's a beautiful story in here too, which I feel like is something that's lacking in all the other monster movies that we see. Like in the American Godzilla movies, we spend too much time with the human characters and not enough time with the monsters. Whereas in this one, like, you could have even scrapped Godzilla from this movie and I would have been hooked the whole time just to see where these two characters go. There's a love story in here. Really, really touching stuff. But Godzilla still steals the show at the end of the day here, let's be real. And the way they present him, he's just a terrifying monster and not someone that you're rooting for. Again, conversely to the American movies, like you're cheering for Godzilla. In this one, you're absolutely not rooting for Godzilla. He's just tearing Japan apart. It's tragic. And there's some beautiful, again, like the budget's $15 million. I don't know how they did what they did under that budget. Just say that. Yeah. I think if you can still see this in theater, strong recommend. There's some amazing shots in here. Cinematography, script, all of it, unbelievable movie. I gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd, and like I knew halfway through, I'm like, yeah, this is getting a 5. I don't know about you guys, but when I watch movies now with Letterboxd, I'm like thinking of what I'm gonna rate a movie, which might like hurt how I'm watching a movie because I'm just thinking about the rating I'll give it. I stopped thinking about the rating because I knew it was a 5. So Godzilla -1, number 1 for me.
Love it. I love that pick. I haven't seen it.
Me neither.
I've heard great things about it. But I love that pick. I think that's a really, really good pick.
Yeah, the budget is one of the reasons I didn't see it. I saw $15 million. I didn't recognize the director. I think I had seen a couple maybe screen grabs or some pictures of what Godzilla looked like. Maybe I got bad pictures, I don't know. But it looked like low budget a little bit. And then out of nowhere, people are just rating this thing like upwards of 4 stars on Letterboxd. I'm like, whoa, I really missed out. Like, there's something to this. So it's definitely on my to-do list.
No, Dallas, I actually thought the same thing when I saw the initial pictures and like that it was 15 million. Like, this looks like it's going to be a joke. Like, I'm not checking this out. But then I saw the reviews coming. I'm like, all right, let's see if I can go check this out. And I'm very happy I did. So, yeah, Godzilla.
I had a feeling this would be your number 1, Eric. I heard nothing but good things about this, and I'm listening to a lot of top 10 lists for 2023 right now, and Godzilla's on there, so I'm gonna have to check it out. I was trying to actually, I just no time. Okay, my number 1, you guys have already talked, or Nezz and Dallas, you've already talked about it. I didn't know. I knew this was gonna be in my top 5, but I decided to put it at number 1. Anyway, The Holdovers is my number 1. And the reason why it's number 1 is when I was watching this, I had this moment where I've explained it on the pod before, where like I forget about everything around me and time. Like I forget about time, and I'm so sucked into the movie that like I have to finish it right away. And like I'm so engrossed in the story, and that's what happened with The Holdovers. Paul Giamatti seems like he's amazing. I hope he does win the Oscar. I loved his grumpiness. I loved his references to like the Roman Empire and all the quotes he has. This movie reminded me of like a Dead Poets Society, setting with the grumpy teacher. It was perfect. The other characters were great too. I didn't know where it was going too, so that always kept me intrigued. Like I'm not gonna say too much because like you haven't seen it yet, but the ending too, like I didn't expect that to happen at the end either. Like I thoroughly enjoyed the ending, the resolution. Again, the script, that was the strength of the movie, the dialogue. Alexander Payne, that is his strength. I've seen all his movies. Some of them are misses, but a lot of them hit, like Sideways, Election. Those are fantastic. About Schmidt. Like he's had some misses, but this was one of his hits, as he's had before. Return to Form. So big fan of The Holdovers. Number 1. I desperately want to rewatch it too. I'll probably watch it with my mom because I know she'll love it. Yeah, loved it. Love the movie, guys. So check it out, Eric.
Yeah,
No, I want to,
I recommended it to like my grandparents, my parents, everyone, because it's just such a good feel good movie, and it's not long, and it's just a movie that anyone can watch and enjoy.
Yeah.
Right, and I think it's so good, and the acting is great, and I think I think The Holdovers has a chance to shock a lot of people at the Oscars. I think they do, but that's a good number one, really good number one. I think that you guys have had. I think those are three good number ones. I haven't seen Godzilla. But I've heard great things, and I don't doubt that it would be a lot of people's number ones. Poor Things, obviously, a good number one. Holdovers as well. And Dallas, you've already said Poor Things as your number one, so I'm going to dive in, and I know that it's not a secret. For me, number one is obviously Oppenheimer. And we talked at length about this when I was on the podcast, a year ago. And Christopher Nolan for me is my hero. And it is, I think a lot of people will say like, oh, that's a biased pick. And sure, if you know me, you do think that. But I do think that regardless of what it is, this is the best movie of the year. I think it'll win Best Picture at the Oscars. I think Christopher Nolan will win his first Best Director. Well, I think Christopher Nolan is a slam dunk to win Best Director.
Whoa.
His first.
I don't know.
First,
Greta Gerwig might get it, but
no
I
chance.
hope Christopher Nolan, but I'm just
No chance. Greta Gerwig will get. And I think that look, I think me and Dallas have had this conversation. I think that the only Oscar Barbie's gonna win is whatever song they choose to win. They're gonna win. Yeah, they're gonna win Best Original Song, whichever song that is of the 10 that are in that movie. I think that's the only thing Barbie's gonna win. I don't think Greta Gerwig has even the slightest chance to win, in my opinion, unless once again they go politically correct. If that's fine for me to say.
Robbery. But yeah,
but
I don't think that's gonna happen, Dallas. I judge 2 cents in. I'd be so shocked if that happened.
Yeah,
like Christopher Nolan has won. He won the Grammy. He won the Critics' Choice Award. I think he's a slam dunk, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Robert Downey Jr. also a slam dunk. I don't think there's any worry about Robert Downey Jr. losing that one. I think so. For me, I'll get into the movie, but I think that it'll win Best Picture. It'll win Best Director. It'll win Best Supporting Actor. It'll win Best Score with Ludwig Göransson, who fucking killed it. I was grading. It's exam season for high school, and today they had their first exam, and I was grading for 6 hours straight, and I put on the Oppenheimer score on Apple, and that's all I listened to.
Yeah, I listen to that soundtrack, that score all the time. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's perfect, to work to have on in the background, just soothing somehow.
I'm super bitter because I'm a huge Hans Zimmer fan. Like, as you can see, I have a keep calm and listen to Hans Zimmer poster on my wall. And obviously I got that from the Hans Zimmer, Christopher Nolan collaboration, but Ludwig Göransson killed it. He did such a good job. So I think that, the BAFTAs are coming up. They got nominated for 13 BAFTAs. Wow. I think they win at least eight of them. And I think that they have the chance to win between 8 and 10 Oscars.
Wow.
Oppenheimer. So I'm really hoping for that. It's going to be heartbreaking that Cillian's not going to win. I don't think he's going to win. Like I said, I think they're going to give it to Paul Giamatti. I'm pulling for Cillian to win because, and now I'm going to get into the movie. This is a very, very demanding movie for Cillian Murphy. I mean, the camera doesn't, like, it barely comes off him. And the script was written in the first person. It's the first script to be written in the first person, where it's from Oppenheimer's point of view. And I can't imagine how hard it was for Cillian Murphy to have that spotlight on him when he hasn't really, you know, apart from like 28 Days Later and whatever, and obviously Peaky Blinders, when it comes to movies, he hasn't really been in that spotlight, you know, and he's been collaborating with Christopher Nolan for 20 years now. And most of the time he has, you know, a bag over his head because he was Scarecrow and whatever. And in Inception, he has a bag over his head as well. So, you know, I think, yeah, so I think that, I think that Cillian does deserve his flowers, but if I know the Oscars, and I do, I think they're going to give it to Paul, which he deserves it. He does. But as the movie itself, and I'm going to wrap up as fast as I can here, but I think that Oppenheimer from start to finish, it's a 3-hour movie. It doesn't feel like a 3-hour movie. A lot of people who aren't really moviegoers, they had a problem with the runtime because they thought that the movie should have ended after the Trinity test, which is stupid. It shouldn't have ended after the Trinity test, because the bigger story of all that is the trial with Oppenheimer and Louis Strauss, who is played by Robert Downey Jr. And that's the last hour of the movie is like a tour de force from Christopher Nolan. And I wrote this in my, I told Dallas this. I was like, you know, this is like Aaron Sorkin-ish type of movie from Nolan that we don't see ever. You know, there's a lot of dialogue in his movies, but it's not the way that Oppenheimer we've seen. So, and we've talked about horror movies. You guys have talked about horror movies. It's not my genre, but this is sort of that.
Terrifying.
It's a very terrifying a story. There's a lot of terrifying scenes, like that scene where Oppenheimer, after the bomb goes off, he's in the auditorium with all the cheering fans that are there. That's a terrifying scene. And and this is another thing I told Dallas. This is like a very Aaron Aronofsky scene from Christopher Nolan, where we see sort of like Black Swan-ish a little bit from Christopher Nolan. But from start to finish, like the end, and no one, I don't care who it is, no one ever does endings like Christopher Nolan. It's not even close. Like the ending with Einstein, and sort of you see, and it's sort of like, you know, I not a lot of people picked up on this, but obviously this is the first movie Nolan has done with Universal and not Warner Brothers. And the last shot of the movie and Universal, their logo is basically, you know, Earth, and the last shot of the movie is Earth setting on fire, right? So I think that, you know, that's sort of like but Oppenheimer for me, slam dunk #1. Start to the ensemble is fantastic. Emily Blunt, she won't win, but I thought she gave a fantastic performance, especially the scene with Jason Clarke. And I thought that Jason Clarke, honestly, I watched Your Dark 30 last week, and I wrote this in my review. I thought that Jason Clarke was one of he was one of my favorite performances in that movie. He's super low key, but he's so good in that movie, and he's good in everything he does. You know,
Yeah.
He doesn't always have big roles, but Oppenheimer, slam dunk #1. I think it's gonna. I think it should be nominated for 14, which would tie La La Land for like most all time. I think they're gonna win 8 to 10, and I'm gonna celebrate like the Sens score a Stanley Cup winning goal in overtime when Christopher Nolan finally wins his best director Oscar. He's been nominated 6 times. He's been snubbed 6 times.
He's the Leonardo DiCaprio of directors.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially for, you know, he should have won for Interstellar. I think, and you guys talked about like Tenet. It was sort of a back to form thing. Look, I didn't love Tenet. I thought it was way too confusing. I thought Nolan thought his audience was way too smart. I think he expects his audience to be as smart as him. We're not. We're fucking idiots. So we want things to be simple, more simple. But you know, I think that Tenet, out of all the movies he's done, including Oppenheimer, I think that Tenet, when it comes to production, is the most impressive movie he's done. No one can write a movie. No one can write a movie like Tenet except for him. Like the fact that it, you know, goes backwards and whatever, holy shit. But I think production-wise, like you watch the production of Tenet, and the fact that like he's done most of these things like on camera is crazy.
Yeah.
So Oppenheimer #1, slam dunk for me. Nolan, and I've been dying for Nolan to do a biopic because he has said that he wrote a biopic on Howard Hughes, and he said that it was the best thing he's ever written. But Martin Scorsese at that time did The Aviator with Leo, which I loved. But so Nolan had to scrap that script. So, but he said, and to this day he still says it. He says that the Howard Hughes biopic that he wrote is the best thing he's ever written.
Wow.
So I've been dying for a biopic. He finally gave it to us, and from production to the ensemble to the direction, it's 10 out of 10. He did a great job, and that's my spiel.
That was a. Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, great rundown, Nez. I mean, for me, no surprise, Oppenheimer's your #1, but very well explained. And, yeah, I mean, great spiel. I mean, you can't really top that, honestly. Thought my Godzilla one was pretty good, but you checked a lot more boxes in there. So, no, great rundown, Nez. And Dallas, you wanted to add something there?
Well, yeah, fantastic dissection. Like, that was really well thought out, really well said. You know, if I can just, you know, dovetail the point about Cillian Murphy and, you know, Christopher Nolan demanding a lot from Cillian because, yeah, the camera's never off him. You know, it's the Cillian Murphy show. And if you were to put, and this is nothing against Alexander Payne, but if you were to put Oppenheimer side by side to The Holdovers, you would immediately tell which film is shot by Christopher Nolan. You know, the quality is just different. You know, the visual.
And just to add to that, like Hoyte van Hoytema, who's the cinematographer, he's been collaborating with Chris Nolan since Interstellar. So for Oppenheimer, they went to Kodak and they said, "Can we create a lens that's IMAX in black and white? Is there an IMAX black and white lens that we can create?" And Kodak said, "Yes, we can figure it out." So it's the first ever movie to be shot in IMAX in black and white. So Hoyte van Hoytema is going to win for sure. He's another slam dunk. I think Ludwig Göransson for the score is a slam dunk. I think Nolan's a slam dunk for the director, and I think Hoyte van Hoytema for cinematography is a slam dunk. I mean, you can't. If you're the Oscars, you can't sort of say, look, they created a black and white IMAX camera and they can't win cinematography. Like, they have to win.
Yeah.
They created the black and white IMAX. They have to win, right? So I think they'll win. And Robert Downey Jr. is also the other slam dunk.
Yeah, agreed.
So
yeah, beautifully said, Nez.
Yeah. So Oppenheimer #1. Poor Things is good, but my 1 and 2 is like a distant 1 and 2. It's like
I should have said that as well. Godzilla, a tier of its own for me too. Like Across the Spider-Verse is my second favorite one, but like it didn't sniff Godzilla for me. I don't know if it's similar for you, Dallas and Matt. I think you guys said like 1 to 3 could be kind of interchangeable there, but just kind of what it was for me.
For me at least.
Okay, good stuff. I'll just do like a recap of all of our picks. Like, I know it's a lot of movies. I'll just fire them off real quick there. So, Nez, you had Air, Priscilla, Across the Spider-Verse, Saltburn, Past Lives, The Wonderful Life of Henry Sugar. Is that the name?
Story.
And The Holdovers, Anatomy of a Fall, Poor Things, Oppenheimer. Dallas, you had Saltburn, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, The Killer, Beau is Afraid, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, Across the Spider-Verse, Past Lives, Holdovers, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. Matt, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Killer, Talk to Me, Anatomy of a Fall, Across the Spider-Verse, Saltburn, Past Lives, Oppenheimer, When Evil Speaks or Rises? What is it?
Lurks.
When Evil Lurks. The Holdovers. I had The Iron Claw, Creed 3, Theater Camp, Barbie, Super Mario Bros. Movie, Oppenheimer, John Wick 4, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, Across the Spider-Verse, Godzilla -1. So, vastly different lists in there. Sure, there's one that stands out a bit more than the rest, but I'd love to see some common picks, some different ones. That's the great thing about movies. There's so many that drop every year, and there's always some universal picks, some different personal ones. Love to see it. So
fantastic list, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Really loved all your lists, actually, and I have them all written down because I'm going to check out the blind spots for me.
Same.
So great stuff, guys.
This is the longest pod, by the way, we've done in years. It's only the second time we've gone over 2 hours. So well done. I'm absolutely exhausted.
It's crazy.
But go ahead, Dallas.
Oh, I was just saying, this flew by for me. I could go all day.
Unfortunately, though, I think we're going to be coming to a close right about now. But great stuff. Just want to say thanks a lot, both you guys, Nez and Dallas, for joining us. Like Matt said, a lot of blind spots for me that I really want to check out. So, Nez, any final notes for the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, me and Dallas are we're movie bros. We go to the movies together, and I'm not surprised that this podcast has been 2 hours, because when you get Dallas and I talking about any subject, we don't shut up. It doesn't even have to be about movies. Me and Dallas could be in a field stranded, and we'll just find something to talk about for hours. But I really appreciate you guys having us on. I know we were supposed to do this in person tomorrow, and I'm sorry. Obviously the Sens come first before everything. So I really appreciate you guys. You guys do great work. And I wish you guys all the best moving forward with this podcast. I really, really appreciate it. And I think I speak on behalf of Dallas when I say that. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Nez. Really, really kind words. And hopefully the Sens walk away with another dub like they did last night against Montreal.
Hopefully.
Good win. Montreal 6-2. Nice.
Yeah.
Dallas, again, as per usual, killed it. Thanks a lot for joining us. Any final notes for the listeners?
Final notes for the listeners, the diehard listeners, the diehard Easy Conversation fans. Praise be to the Easy Conversations fans. Thank you so much for having us on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys and reconnect with you guys. You guys are an absolute pleasure. Fantastic hosts. Every time, I watch your show, it's always getting better. You guys are just, finding your groove, and it's just really fantastic. And it honestly is, it could also be called easy listening, because it's just something that you can put on, and yeah, it's fantastic to listen to you guys. So thank you so much for having us on. And you know, just about the movies, this is a renaissance. Like I said, it's a rebirth, and this is going to be a hot Oscars. There's some make it or break it nominations coming up. Like seriously, if certain things don't get nominated or certain things don't win, I might have to cut the Oscars permanently off. So we'll see. But yeah, thanks again for having us on.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dallas. Again, kind words. Really appreciate it. And you guys both crushed it. And Matt, as per usual, killed it as well. Any final notes for the listeners?
Yeah, just, well, thank you everybody for listening, but Dallas and Nezz, you guys crushed it today. Not only do I follow your letterboxes like every day, like I'm eagerly awaiting what you've watched and your thoughts on it. I loved hearing you guys both talk today about movies. We could probably discuss movies all day. Yeah, you guys had great lists. Teaching, like illuminate, like showing me things I hadn't seen. And anyways, yeah, thank you guys for both of you for coming on. And yeah, hope everyone's having a good time right now and enjoying winter.
Well said, Matt. I think I speak for Dallas and Nezz when I say that we're still waiting on that elusive Matt review on Letterboxd. I'm just, every time I go on there, I'm like, Matt review something. I'm just waiting to see it.
I suck at writing. I'm not a good writer.
Anyways, well, one day it's going to happen. I know it. So yeah, thanks a lot, everybody, for listening. Stay tuned for episodes dropping every 2 Mondays. Continue to enjoy the winter. Go Sens go. And yeah, peace.
Yes. Okay.